The Little Plumber That Could, Detective Deadpool, Tom Holland's Big Adventure. What do these movies have in common? None of them are terrible, and they all made money at the box office. They've made so much money actually that they are starting to outright make more money than superhero films. With The Flash bombing and Marvel throwing anything at the wall right now to see what sticks, audiences are starting to watch new IPs take over the silver screen. And not even just at movie theaters, shows like The Last of Us and Arcane are dominating television as well. But how is this happening? Not too long ago, video game films were a joke to Hollywood, executives, and audiences, to forever be cursed with bad quality. Movies like Street Fighter, Super Mario Bros., and Doom being terrible, and at the highest peak, movies that were churned out to be, at best, meh, Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. Video game films were a joke to Hollywood, and there was no money in it. Well, no money in being taken seriously as its own feature film. Instead, companies would use video game studios and the games they created as a marketing tool to sell as merchandise and promote upcoming movies. We saw this with Pixar with games for A Bug's Life and Incredibles, DreamWorks with Shrek, and even more films like Jurassic Park, Aladdin, and The Lion King. That's all video games were good for. They weren't an art form to be taken seriously back then, but now they are the upcoming kings of Hollywood. What changed? Well, a lot changed. Firstly, creative control with the recent video game movies like FNAF and Mario. Those movies actually follow the game's storylines instead of making up some nonsensical Hollywood garbage that caters to nobody and is hated by fans. I'm looking at you, Star Wars. Back in the day when Hollywood had creative control over these projects, they would make the stupidest decisions that never happened in the game. Take Street Fighter for instance. Charlie and Blanca are two separate characters. In the film, Dhalsim is a scientist who works for Bison and mutates Charlie, turning him into Blanca. Fast forward a few years and again, when the terrible Sonic trailer came out that made Sonic look like something you'd want Doomguy to murder with vicious intent.
I'm sorry, what?
Fans were rightfully upset. There was so much backlash that the movie studio Paramount couldn't ignore it and went back and completely redesigned Sonic, and the movie was much better off for it. Now fast forward even further to today, and now the studios and executives fall second when it comes to creative control behind the creators and companies that created the game, and I for one am so thankful for that. Look at Nintendo and Scott Cawthon for example. Firstly with Nintendo, they were very much heavily involved in the look, design, and story of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Illumination did not have a higher authority than Nintendo on the project and had to consult with Nintendo on every aspect of the film to get it approved. Whereas back in the day, with that other godforsaken Mario Bros. Movie, the studio had free reign and thought they knew better because gaming had not yet become the mega giant it is today. So Hollywood thought they knew better, but they really didn't. Now look at the box office and audience results for the current Super Mario Bros. Movie, where Nintendo was in control of so many details, whether large or small. And they created a film that's true to the source material and doesn't alienate the fans that made them a household name. Now with Five Nights at Freddy's, again Hollywood did not get to do whatever they wanted to. They had to consult Scott on the script and get everything approved by him. Scott had full control to turn down stuff he didn't like or didn't think fit the movie, which he did. Multiple scripts and ideas were brought to Scott and he turned down many he didn't like. And regardless of what you may think of the current video game films, it is very nice to see the creators of these iconic games keep control and have final say, instead of some Hollywood suits who know nothing about gaming. However, it's not just creative control that is playing a factor into these films being a success. Money. Yup, the almighty dollar is arguably, at least in the studio's eyes, the be-all and end-all factor on even greenlighting a film. But if we want to use a different word that coincides with money, it would be demographic. Most kids who grew up with a lot of video games came from the millennial generation, which were mostly in the 90s. Now that generation has grown up and has disposable income. Now we're the main demographic that is going to the movies, not Gen X or boomers. Not to mention younger generations as well, who are in their teens now also grew up with a lot of video games and are also attending these films. What used to be comic books that people grew up with has now become video games. The stories we grew up with can now be told on the big screen and catered to us. The studios aren't banking on the older generations anymore, they're banking on the new ones, us going to the movies. And with the superhero scene getting overbloated, the next big IPs are all in video games. Speaking of comic books, a big reason why video game movies are making money is there is no homework involved to watch them. Look at the MCU now. There are over 30 movies now with no end in sight. And not to mention the abundance of Marvel TV shows to watch. It's a lot, and that's putting it mildly. It's not like everything the MCU puts out is amazing. There are shows and movies I'm sure some people really don't care to watch, but will undoubtedly end up being important down the line somewhere. Now look at the video game films and TV shows. No homework involved. Yeah, it's probably nice if you played the game, but the films do not require you to play them to enjoy them. You can go see it for the first time and just have fun at the movies. Do you know who Mario is? Yes? Alright, that's all you need to watch the film. There are of course Easter eggs for longtime fans, but the story being told at the forefront doesn't hinge on those Easter eggs for people to understand it. Mario goes to the Mushroom Kingdom, fights Bowser, saves Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom, the end. Same thing with Sonic. Sonic comes to Earth, makes friends, fights Eggman, the end. I mentioned Marvel, but also as for the DCEU, well, they haven't been making box office successes for years, and with the recent shakeup at Warner Brothers and James Gunn heading the DCEU with changes to the cast but also keeping some elements the same, who knows where that's even headed. But after the Flash bombing and Blue Beetle not making any big waves, I can't see the current DCEU taking on any of the big video game films head on. And even Nintendo might end up starting their own universe to combat Marvel's. Many have joked and memed about a Super Smash Bros. Crossover movie, but it could very well be happening with Mario being a box office juggernaut and Nintendo acquiring their own movie studio. I mean, why wouldn't they start a Nintendo cinematic universe? And a huge contributing factor that they have to differentiate from other cinematic universes is the fact that their universe will be in animation, not live action. So many snobs look down on animation, but animation lends itself to so many creative and fun ideas that just don't work in live action. Nintendo has such a unique, vast, and vibrant cast of characters and settings that being in animation would likely make those worlds seem much more faithful to the games they had created and could be the first real animated cinematic universe. I'm not counting the Pixar theory. They have so many IPs people love, and the next biggest franchise after Mario is obviously Zelda. Then they could do Donkey Kong, who they have already established. Then you have Metroid, Star Fox, Fire Emblem, Kirby. So many well-known IPs that could be big hits in theaters. We've been talking about video game theatrical releases, but I can't leave out the video game adaptations that are also starting to take over the small screen. Shows like The Last of Us, Castlevania, and the long-running OG Pokemon. There is one I personally love though. Arcane is easily one of, if not the best video game adaptation I have ever seen in my life. Taking the lore of League of Legends, changing and tweaking it to create this amazing story that was breathtaking to say the least. That series kept me engaged and wanting to watch every episode. The character arcs and growth, the plot through line, the artwork, the voice acting, everything was perfect. My only complaint was that it ended. It was nothing like actual League of Legends. And with big IPs and iconic characters taking over, people are going to the theaters precisely for them and not any other reason. What I'm getting at here is becoming more and more normal in Hollywood, and that's the death of the movie star. Back in the olden days of yore, our parents' generation and even older than that would go see a movie if it had a well-known actor in it. That would bump up the box office success for a film. That being said, that mindset is slowly dying and has been dying ever since animation and superhero films got bigger and bigger. Name brands and characters sell a movie now, not so much the actor. Regardless if you liked Chris Pratt as Mario or not, that movie was going to do well because it's Mario. That's a huge advantage animation has. You're judging the film on how it looks and sounds, not whose face is plastered on the poster. Some celebrities have complained about this and don't like that people are going to the movies for the characters instead of wanting to see your favorite actor.
Dexter. This is an outrage, Jack. We're the heroes. We're the ones on cereal boxes, for God's sake. And I'm about to release my own line of sports shoes. I've got a contract!
To quote Anthony Mackie from an interview he did, there are no movie stars anymore. Like Anthony Mackie isn't a movie star, the Falcon is a movie star, and that's what's weird. It used to be with Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Stallone, and Schwarzenegger. When you went to the movies, you went to go see the Stallone movie. You went to go see the Schwarzenegger movie. Now you go see X-Men. So the evolution of the superhero has meant the death of the movie star. This might be controversial, but that's a good thing. thing, at least when it comes to escapism. I'm going to the movies to see the characters I love. Yes, there are actors I like, but I thought that was the whole point of an actor, to lose themselves in the role and become the character. So if you're going for the character and adore the portrayal, why are actors upset about that? Isn't that literally what the goal is for an actor? And with video games, it's no different. Like I said, you're going to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie for Mario, not Chris Pratt. You're going to the FNAF movie for Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. I think the only exception to this is Jim Carrey as Eggman, because he just brings so much of himself to that role, but it's so well done. But even so, the star of that film is still Sonic the Hedgehog. The proof lies in the pudding, or in this case the box office. What Anthony Mackie is saying is true. He even states Tom Cruise, and look at the box office numbers for these films. The Super Mario Bros. Movie domestic is over $500 million, and worldwide it's over $1 billion. Tom Cruise's latest film, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, was over $170 million domestic, and worldwide over $560 million. So the proof is there. Mario is just more popular, Tom, sorry. While actors in Hollywood in general may not like this fact, it's already here. Actors are going to have to learn to take a backseat to fictional characters. Regardless if Hollywood is okay with video game films and characters becoming popular in cinema, it's not up for them to decide. With films like Sonic 3, Detective Pikachu 2, FNAF 2, and Metal Gear Solid, video game movies and television series are very much here to stay, and push the old blockbusters of comic book films to the wayside. But that's the beauty of video games. It can blend the elements from the game into a movie and lends itself to the art form so easily if done correctly, whether it's animation or live action. It's about time video games got their spot in the sunlight with cinema, and I for one am very happy and look forward to many great things. If you agree with me, hit that subscribe button to become part of the Nath and Out team so you can keep up to date with all our future video game films and topics. It's been great hanging out with you. See you again real soon. Nath out.